This is an emergency roadside kit. It normally sits in the trunk of my family's Toyota Avalon. And yes, we do drive an old 2003 Toyota Avalon. We love it, it's paid for. But we use this kit if we ever got broken down on the side of the road. It has jumper cables, has other tools we need to fix the car. Also has just personal tools, things would help us get through if we got stuck for a little while. Well, all of us in the United States and the world these days find ourselves stuck on the side of the proverbial economic road. And specifically as real estate investors, what do you do when tenants have lost their job or they're stuck at home and can't make income and they can't pay their rent? And there's other things that are concerning you and concerning all of us. What do you do in this kind of emergency situation? Well, I have 5 tools that I want to share with you in this video. They come from lessons that helped me and my business partner get through the 2007, 2008, 2009 economic crisis. They helped us a lot, and I'm calling this my emergency real estate survival kit. We're gonna get started right now. Welcome to Coach Carson TV. My name is Chad Carson. You can also call me Coach, and this is a channel all about investing in real estate so you can achieve financial independence and do more of what matters. If you're brand new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the little bell so you don't miss anything. Let's get started with the 5 survival tools. Tool number 1 is simply cash. When there's a time of economic uncertainty, when things are changing fast, when the whole economy, everybody in the economy doesn't know what's coming, cash is your number 1 survival tool. You probably heard the phrase, cash is king. Well, this is where it becomes really important. So a couple of questions you might ask yourself, these are the questions I asked myself when we were looking at our own financial situation, was number 1, how much cash do you actually need? And where are you gonna get that cash? Let's talk about the first one. How much cash do you need? In an ideal world, you would have already been saving up money, both personally and in your real estate investing, to try to build up a pretty large cash reserve. And I'm gonna suggest, just as a base minimum, having 6 months of your personal expenses, and then also 6 months of your business or your real estate investing expenses set aside in some sort of emergency cash fund. So you basically take whatever you spend, and hopefully you can reduce that spending some as well if you're in this kind of, cancel non-necessary type things you don't really have to have, both in your business and in your personal life, and you multiply that times 6. You figure out what that number is, that's how much cash you want to have. Now, obviously more is better, so if you have 12 months, is that gonna make you sleep a little bit better and feel a little bit better at night? Of course it is, because this is the tool that allows you to get through to the other side. If people aren't paying you rent, and you have to work with them, which could be a good idea if you have a good tenant who's always paid on time and they're not paying their rent now. You want to be able to work with that person over the long run, because who are you going to rent to if they move out? So this cash allows you to make better business decisions in the midst of a lot of panicked thinking. That's one of the key components here. So you know how much, 6 months, 12 months, more is better, but where are you going to get that? In an ideal world, you already had that, but what if you don't have that cash? So you pile up whatever you do have, put that in a savings account, try to get some of that. So you might have to start looking at other options. Can you refinance some of your properties? Can you pull out money from a line of credit? Maybe you already have a line of credit on your house. Maybe you can get a line of credit from a bank if you have good credit and you have equity in your home or in some of your rental properties. Maybe you can just refinance and pull some equity out that way. And my idea is that until you hit that emergency fund where you have enough cash, you need to get it from other sources. It's more important in the short run to have that cash. So borrowing it, even though you have some interest payments over the short run, can help you get over the hump. The other thing is, if you can't borrow it, maybe you can sell some things. It's not ideal. This is probably the worst time to sell something. But if you have one property, if you have a car, if you have something else you can sell and get some cash on one property that allows you to have enough money to survive, to get over the hump, so you don't lose the rest of them. It's kind of like the medical analogy of you lose the limb in order to save the patient. So I know that's kind of a graphic visualization, but the key here is cash is important. It's your key tool to survival. Now, tool number 1, cash in the bank, is obviously very important. But tool number 2, having trusting relationships, business relationships, to me, is the ultimate bank account. And I want to demonstrate that by telling you a story from 2007, right before the last recession. So my business partner and I had a really busy year that year. We really ramped things up. We had 33 closings where we bought properties. And one of those closings later in the year was a small multifamily apartment complex. It actually came in a couple different pieces in different locations. And I went to a bankruptcy auction, just happened to learn about it through the person who was going through bankruptcy. And I went and bid at the bankruptcy auction. And this is not one of my finer investment moments, so I hope you don't mind me sharing mistakes. Hope that's helpful as well. But I basically got into a bidding war with another investor, and I bid too much for this property. I bid more than the number we had set ahead of time. Now in the long run, it wasn't a horrible deal, it wasn't a bad deal, but the timing of it and the amount of capital we had to raise. We had to raise $200,000 to buy the property, another $100,000 to fix it up. It was a big fixer-upper, and the timing couldn't have been worse because this was right about the time when Lehman Brothers and a lot of the banks started crashing, and it was just a, kind of the beginning of the cliff of the Great Recession. Well, bad timing, but here's the point of the story. We had a really good relationship with a local banker who we'd worked with for several years. We had a really good trusting relationship with another private lender, and both of them agreed to loan us money to buy the property and to fix it up, to stabilize it. We were able to sell it off over the next 5 to 10 years. It took us a while, sold one piece earlier, had to sell some of the other pieces later on. And we made out a little bit. It wasn't a horrible deal in the long run, but the key to the entire deal was having these trusting relationships. The trick to that is there's no trick. You can't build trust overnight. So if you haven't done that already, look to the future and start building relationships with private money lenders, with bankers, and demonstrate your trust. The way you build trust is a little bit at a time by your actions. But if you have built some relationships, my point here and tool number 2 is that to depend on those people. Talk to your private lenders, talk to your bankers, keep that relationship going. Let them know if you are going to need some money. From tool number 1, you need to refinance, you need to pull some money out. Let them know how you're going to make them whole and how you're going to follow through and make their safety the number 1 priority. And also think about your tenants. Your tenants are a trusting relationship. If you communicate with them, if you treat them well, it's going to be hard for them. They're going to be scared. They need a roof over their head. You need them to pay their bills too so you can survive. So you need each other. And those kind of relationships in the bad times, the tough times, and communicating with them is how you're going to get through this. Tool number 3 is what I call my creative financing toolbox. In tool number 1, I mentioned that you might need cash to raise extra cash if you don't have enough reserves. And so going to your banks, going to your home equity line of credit, and also going to more creative sources like private lenders, people who have money in a self-directed IRA and want to take it out of the stock market and loan it to you, might be a source just to build up your reserves if you have some equity in properties. But the other end of this is there are also going to be some opportunities eventually. Even if right now you're kind of focused on survival, which I think is a good thing, there are going to be opportunities on the other side of this when things get better, and they will get better eventually. And so you want to have access to capital, and often during recessions, during tough economic times, it's a lot harder to get credit. So using creative tools like seller financing, private loans, lease options, credit partners, a lot of the things you can see, I'm going to link in the video description to a playlist I have about creative financing, a lot of the tools I use to buy properties and to control properties. Those are the things you want to build up and refresh your memory and learn about right now. If you're stuck at home studying, learn about those creative financing tools because they can help you both in the survival mode and also on the next wave when there's some opportunities to buy properties. And recessions, as sad as they are for people who are hurt by them, as an investor, they're also a really big opportunity. So use your creative financing tools to get ready for those opportunities. Survival tool number 4 is to be aware, adaptable, and use speed. Now, a lot of you know, because you see my background here with my football helmet, that I used to play middle linebacker at Clemson University. It's a while back, but I used to be a little bit bigger and I was in the middle of the defense. If you don't know much about football, I was kind of one of those guys in the trenches, and I had these big 350-pound strong linemen who were trying to kind of squish me or attack me from every single angle. And so do you know what the key to my survival in that case as a middle linebacker was? It was to keep my head on a swivel. I was always looking around, always aware. I kind of felt like if you watch those nature documentaries, one of those animals on the plains of Africa who's always kind of twitching and looking around, where's that lion? Who's coming at me? That's basically what I was as a linebacker, because as those big, huge linemen are coming, if I can be aware where they're coming, I can move quickly and I can avoid them, and I can get to the ball and I can make a tackle, I can do my job as a linebacker. Well, the financial crisis and in changing times like we're in right now, It's the exact same thing. You've got to have your head on a swivel. You've got to be looking at changes. Things are going to change. By the time I put this video out there, or maybe you watch it, things have changed from whenever I recorded it. Things move fast, and so keep your head on a swivel. Be aware both of threats, things that could hurt your economic business, could hurt your real estate investing, but also opportunities. They're going to come. You got to pay attention. You got to keep your head on a swivel. But the other thing that helped me as a linebacker was, what if you can't avoid a problem? What if you can't get around that big 350-pound lineman? If you knew you're going to have a problem and it's coming right at you, instead of sticking your head in the sand like an ostrich and avoiding the problem, what I did as a linebacker was I attacked it head on. Before that big old lineman got to me, I went and attacked them, put my hands on them, and then got off really quickly. And so it's the same way with problems in this time. If you have a problem with a tenant, if you have a problem with your private lender or any other lender where you can't make payments, that's not pleasant. Nobody wants that to happen. I don't want this big 350-pound lineman to try to get on me. But if you're going to have it happen, attack it head on. Don't run from it. Go right at the problem. Be honest with the person you have a problem with. You're not only going to solve the problem easier, whether it's a tenant, a lender, whoever, you're also going to build the trust of that person over the long run. So attack the problem head on. Keep your head on a swivel. Be adaptable. That's tool number 4. Tool number 5 is called hope and humility. And I'm going to read a quote here. I couldn't memorize this quote. Read it from my phone. From Desmond Tutu, from a great little book, has nothing to do with real estate investing, called The Book of Joy. And it says, "To choose hope is to step firmly forward into the howling wind, bearing one's chest to the elements, knowing that in time, the storm will pass." So when you're in the midst of an economic problem, a crisis, your real estate investing problems, you feel like you're in a storm. Things are crazy. It's easy to be really, really pessimistic. Well, the point that Desmond Tutu makes, and that I really, really loved, is that hope, this thing you have in your head and in your heart, where you believe that the future is going to be better, that things are going to get better, that the storm's going to pass, and importantly, you believe that you have the ability to get through this. You can do this. But the challenge of having that hopeful attitude is that it makes you vulnerable. As he pointed out in the quote, you basically bare your chest to the elements, to the cold. You're making yourself at risk for failure. What if things go wrong? What if it doesn't work out? What if, you're embarrassed? What if things like that happen? Well, the point is though, anything worthwhile, you've put yourself out there, you've invested, you've started a business, whatever you've done, and that's risky, that's vulnerable. But having hope, knowing that it can get better, and knowing that you can affect that by using these tools, by pushing forward. There's some things you can control, you can't do anything about those, but there's some things you can. And so it's like that wonderful serenity prayer, that you have the serenity to accept the things you cannot change, the courage to change the things you can, and the wisdom to know the difference between those two. That's all wrapped up in hope. And it's something you can just lean on, you can go back to, and it's really the foundation of everything else. You get all the practical tools of cash and financing and all that are wonderful, but it starts here, and it starts with whether you see the future being better and whether you can do something about it. So keep that hope, know that it can get better, and you got this. So I hope those 5 tools from my emergency real estate survival kit will be helpful for you. I have to be honest, I'm an investor just like you, I'm a human being just like you, I have concerns, I have fears, and I don't really know what the next days, the next weeks will lead to. In some ways, we're in some unprecedented times. But if you look at it, you step back in the big picture, although the specific situation is unprecedented, we've never seen something exactly like this, at least not in our lifetime, the tools that we human beings use to get through crises are tried and true. So very specific tools like I shared with you today, and also just being hopeful and knowing that there's some things you can control, there's some things you can't. That is what we human beings are all about. That's what really, honestly, you are all about. And you can get through this, and it's gonna get better. And I hope my channel here at Coach Carson TV can help you. I have a lot of playlists, a lot of videos that I hope will give you some tools if you're sitting at home a lot and need to study those creative financing tools, study those other fundamentals of real estate investing. And if there's anything I can help you with, if you have any questions, please leave a comment below. I would love to hear from you, and I hope to stay in touch with more videos in the future. Have a great day.